Welcome to Leverage to Build Wealth, where we discuss and educate entrepreneurs, mortgage, real estate, and financial service professionals on how to leverage tools and other people's experience to truly leverage to build wealth to create the lifestyle and legacy you desire. All right. Thank you for today's episode of Leverage to Build Wealth. Today, I have Sam Parker, CEO of My Credit Guy. Sam is awesome. Anyone who's had the pleasure to work with Sam knows that he's an awesome guy. He always has a smile on his face, and he's always, I don't know, Sam, you're a guy's guy, and so it's awesome to be around you, and to ever have the opportunity to see you at seminars or different kind of events to give a big hug. You're just an incredible guy. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your story, who you are, your background, and then we'll go from there, brother.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, thanks so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. And I think we're gonna have a good time today. So, my story, I mean, just to give you the Reader's Digest version, I was born and raised in Iowa, kind of brought up with those grinded out work ethic sort of Iowa values. Took that and moved out to Arizona, where I met you. The reason that we did that was actually I fell into credit when I was 19, 20 years old, worked for a company for about 6 or 7 months, realized that maybe their intentions were not the best. They were kind of your typical credit repair company. Let's see who we can get in. How long can we keep them in? Sorry about that. I got a guard dog here.
Oh, it's awesome.
How long can we keep them in? That sort of thing. So after about 9 months, I branched off and started my first credit restoration company at 20 years old.
Wow.
Built that up. Trish, my wife and co-owner right now, 50-50 owner, our CFO, joined me. After about a year of doing that, seeing how unorganized I was, but seeing the potential in both the business and hopefully myself, and said, I can come in and I think I can help with this. So she joined us there. We sold that company after about 3.5 years of building it to a guy that we thought was going to be a great business partner. And over the years, it ended up that he kind of digressed into, unfortunately, somebody who said weird things, did weird things to people in the office, especially the women. And it just became a situation where it was like, I feel grossed out to even be in here. So we made the decision to leave at that point. That's what brought us out to Arizona and met you when we launched My Credit Guy in 2015. We actually had to fight that company for about a year in court because they decided to try to enforce a worldwide non-compete. So that's how My Credit Guy was kind of born under fire, and we made it through that. We actually won the court case, and I can't go into the details of it other than it was a very good outcome for us, kind of a reversal, if you know what I mean. And so from then on, My Credit Guy was free and clear. And Tommy, what we wanted to build from there, because at that point it was just me and Trish. We were soon joined by one of our best buddies, Chris, to help get the company kickstarted. But there were 3 of us working in the den of a rental house in Gilbert, Arizona. Oh, wow. And the number one rule of My Credit Guy, after that experience, we saw that it was so important. And some people will tell them, and without the context, like, oh, that sounds cliche, but we'll say, number one rule is you must be a pleasure to work with. If you're not a pleasure to work with, we can't build around you. We definitely can't build with you if you're not a pleasure to work with, because you're carrying that dark cloud. So first and foremost, we wanted it to be a safe, respectable place where people could just come in and work hard and have that as almost a getaway, because we know that life can be tough. But when you come to work, you shouldn't have to deal with any bullshit. Like, plain and simple. There should be nothing extra besides we're busy today with work, right? And so we made sure that we built a foundation of respect and professionalism and just doing the right thing for both the people that work for us and the people that we work with as partners and clients, right? And so then that's where we're at today, is we have 60 or so employees. We're coming up on a growth phase here with some big partners, and we like to think that we've built this thing on rock as opposed to so many other credit repair companies that are built on sand.
That's really impressive. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm happy to see the success and that you're growing. It is really neat. When we met it was a Nexa Fest. Now they call it LOS Summit. And I remember my first time meeting you and approaching your booth, you just had this big old smile, and I don't know. I think people can resonate with this. When you just meet someone and you just feel like, you know what, we've been friends before. I don't know how. Just kind of feel just like, you know what, this guy's awesome. I already love you, and I don't know why yet. And it wasn't about being a vendor, at a big event. It's just like, wow, you as an individual, as a person, like, wow, this guy's my friend. I don't even know his name yet, and then I get to know your name, but you just had that presence about you. And I'm pretty confident that if we're to have a poll of people, what was your first kind of experience with Sam, you would have something similar because you have that presence about you. And
Thank you.
I don't have that about myself. I need to work on it. I need to definitely get better. But that's what's so nice and genuine about you, Sam. And so when you're talking about that culture, it must be a pleasure to work with. That makes total sense to me. It truly does. And to piggyback off of that, and this will circle back at some point. It'll make sense. I was working with a colleague. His name was Ryan. He was a former special forces soldier, and one of the things he talked about is how the selection process goes. Like, to be selected to even go into special forces, you have to be the top guy in your unit and so forth to even be selected. And so everyone in this training class, they're all the best of the best, right? They're PT studs, their physical training. They know their stuff. They're competent. They have all the skill set of a super soldier, right? And all these things. They go through all these elite drills and trainings and so forth to be the best of the best. But when it comes down to the whittling process, and they're looking at selections of who actually, gets chosen, it really comes down to, do you like the person? Do you want to work with them? That really is the final decision process on this, on the senior echelon who's making these decisions. And you would think, well, that's really interesting. Wouldn't you want them to be the toughest guy? And I'm like, these are already the elites. These are already the elite soldiers and stuff. And so you got the best of the best, and you're trying to figure out who to select. It's, do I want to work with this person? There's already an established trust, right? But do you want to work with them?
Well, and I think being likable, it gets dumbed down a lot, like where people are just like, I just like that guy or whatever. And I'm not saying, I appreciate you saying that. I'm not trying to speak of myself like a narcissist here, but I'm saying when somebody takes the time to make sure, and I can tell when I go up and talk to somebody, we might not have everything in common, right? It's that person that takes the time to try to very quickly find the common ground and make me feel comfortable, that I go, this person is a master problem solver, and they just did it in 5 seconds. Because communication is, to me, that it's a very strong litmus test of intelligence and give a shit. Do you actually care about me, or are you just trying to get what you want? Because it can be both. That's the beautiful thing about life and communication, is as long as you and I chat with each other, you're going to get what you want, I'm going to get what I want, and we're both going to be happy. But if you're not a good enough communicator, or I'm not a good enough communicator, someone's going to feel off, which means going forward, there's always going to be that either you owe me, I owe you, or I don't want to do business with you. So even that first 10 seconds of meeting somebody, I truly believe that it's like, okay, great. We got a good foundation. You're nice. You're a problem solver because you met me in the middle somehow, some way, very quickly. And we can move fast in our friendship now.
That's awesome. I'd like to know a little bit more about the culture that you have with your company, because here's the reason why this matters. For someone listening to this, like, who the hell does this matter? What it has to do with credit and building wealth? It has a lot to do with it, because when someone's calling in, and whether it's them as an individual or as a professional saying, hey, I want to be able to make sure my people are taken care of, so when they come back to me, I can get them squared away, right? The bottom line, when it gets, metal hits the meat, they want to know that. Well, you want to know that the person that you're handing them off to is trustworthy and can take care of them, and you're not going to offend them. You're not going to spew them off, but you're also going to be a straight talker, right? That culture, I remember seeing this reel. It was about an hour ago. This coach, he was talking to a person who had a question. Is just like culture, and why culture really matters. Imagine you're the person who comes in early, stays late, you're grinding, you're hustling, you're trying to do work by your business, and you have someone who comes in late, leaves early. They're always looking for excuses. Maybe they have good numbers, right? Maybe they perform well on their numbers, but culturally wise, are you going to be happy with them? Like seriously, if you're doing these things, like, is that going to be an environment that you feel happy with each other? No, it's not going to really be long term. It's not going to last because of a culture difference. Um,
Right.
talk about a little bit with that. How you're talking about it must be a pleasure to work with. What's part of the culture that you embody? Because it's your baby, it's your business. What's
Yeah.
part of the culture that My Credit Guy has?
Yeah. Well, on that note, I want to help everybody be better. And my goal is if I hire you, I liked you enough to hire you. I don't just hire somebody to hire them. My people don't hire people for their departments, just hire them. So if I hire you, it means I hope you retire with me. Right. I also realize that not everybody is perfect and not everyone has ever had the exposure to somebody saying, I actually believe in you and I want you to be better. And because of that, I expect better things out of you. And as you grow to respect yourself more, you'll expect those out of you too. Because you get a lot of people who, I mean, how many 25, 30-year-olds have you said or have you heard say, you know what? I am who I am. And you either like me or you don't. It's just who I am. It's like, you are who you are at 25? Like, no, you're not, dude. Don't do that because the only way that you stay that same person is if you start saying shit like, I am who I am and you like me or don't like me, right? And so a lot of times it's just the investment of time or caring about somebody. Now, on the flip side of that, though, it's the protecting the people that you can tell actually care and want to invest in your culture.
Yeah.
We have had standout star players on our team that I've let go because they don't fold into the team well. I can't have somebody, number one, there's a couple different layers to this. Number one, I can't have somebody that truly cares about themselves more than the company. Again, it can be both.
Yes.
You can care about yourself, you can go out and make a bunch of money, you can crush it, but you also have to care about the company and do it with integrity, right? Like, yes, you have to. So many people want to play the game on easy or medium mode, which is doing one side of something but not doing the other side of it. And they go, I'm unbalanced, I'm a beast. It's like, no, you're not. You do easy shit by only focusing on work and not on your family, or only focusing on sales and not on quality, right? And so we will take people out and just let them go if they're not a good fit, but we'll give them plenty of time. We'll say, hey, listen, we need you to slow down and identify that you're putting yourself first, so that you're not getting these projects done because your ego is wanting you to be always having something to announce, right? But at the end of the day, if you think about a star player is one on a team of whatever, right? 6, 11, 53, whatever sport you're playing or company you have. And you got to understand that those other 10, 30, 40, 50 people, while maybe they're not the social media star of the company, yeah, right? Their role is so important. And if you start to erode, if somebody walks around and they go, the rules are different for that guy, the rules are different for that girl, I try hard, because I have to do all the hard work after they sell the file, you can't do that. And so you always have to think of the whole. So like, we think of My Credit Guy as a living being, and we go, what is healthy for My Credit Guy? And if you think of it like, and I don't want to be like an alien horde here, but if it's like, if this person would be bad for the mother, like, we can't have them. Like, yeah, they're flashy, but they bring back poison to the nest. Yes. You know what I mean? They're bringing back an infectious disease of ego, and they got to go. And then watch what happens. You let that person go that you kind of thought you needed. Those other people all go, we got you. We will take up that slack. You don't need one person. You need 10 of us doing 1/10 of what they were willing to do. And we appreciate you getting that shit out of here. That's what the good people won't say it until they'll say it. And they'll go, I wasn't going to say anything because I wasn't going to say anything because I respect you. I wasn't going to say anything because I'm not that person that says shit. When you hired me, I never said I was out loud and proud. I said, I will do this work for you steadily every single day. And you implied that you would protect me. And so I appreciate that you did that finally, right? Like, that's the reaction you get when you let those hot shots go, if they're not thinking of the company.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel like this burden of relief? You know,
Always.
it truly does. It always feels freeing when that happens.
Yeah, and I've had some painful firings. I've had people that I was just like, and I look at those as a failure of mine. I am not yet the leader that could get them to change the way that they were acting, or I'm not yet the leader that was able to put something in front of them that got it to click, right? Like, but at the end of the day, I accept that sometimes. I go, I'm not that guy today, so I gotta let you go, right? But even then, what I tell people, because I'll have people come to me and chat with me about it. They'll be like, "Oh, I got this person, and they're great, but this and this, and everybody, they're mean to everybody, but they get they get some files, and it's." The bottom line is, it's like, let me ask you something. Do you know you need to let this person go? And they're like, oh, I do. It's like, then you got to. And I always tell them, I go, you are going to be uncomfortable for a maximum of 30 seconds. Like if you time this right now, starting, hey, Tommy, I just wanted to let you know, bring you in, tell you I appreciate everything you've done for me. Also let you know, I think that you and I both wish that we would have evolved to a more equitable place. Right now, the attitude in the office is just not a healthy one. And I really want to change that. That's the most important thing to me. And I think that you and I have had enough discussions where if you were going to be happy here, you'd be happy here. And what I'm seeing is that you're not. And so, my life is not all about money. I'm sure yours isn't either. And so at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shift that I think is going to ultimately let you be happy and go do something that you're satisfied with, and also let us have some peace in here. So Tommy, at this time, I am going to be letting you go. And that was 30 seconds of discomfort, right?
Yes.
And then you go like this, and then the other person can say as much as they want. Go for you. Oh, that doesn't make any. I totally understand that. No, I get that, and I think that's part of the reason why we're making this move is because if your and my communication was on point, where you understood my frustrations, we wouldn't be at this point either. So I do appreciate this. And I am going to need to move on. Now, obviously, there's people, if it's a more intimate relationship with that or a friend, you can take more time. But my point is, you have to protect the people that are showing up and working for you every day and not causing problems. And if you find that your meetings are more about personnel than process, that person has to go. You can't spend your time talking about people. Just like in 7th grade, don't spend your time talking about people.
This is
right. It's the same thing when you're paying them, especially is, dude, if I'm paying you, I am giving you dollars happily for you doing this thing for me. And when you don't do this thing for me, I'm paying you dollars to talk about you. And my meetings, when I talk about people, it's like, oh, I'm thinking about doing something crazy, letting somebody go. I don't like doing this. Trish is on it. I'm on it. My 2 other, closest managers on it. Those are expensive meetings to have. You can't have meetings about personnel all the time. You cannot.
No. And if it is, it should be like events that are boosting the morale and congratulating and celebrating things that you guys have been doing.
Good
The
energy.
positive energy, the stuff that contributes, versus the cancers, so I get that.
But the thing is that people don't realize you only have so much time. You only have so much energy. And if my meeting today that I had with my managers was spent talking about a problem child, I can't talk about the party. Right. And nobody wants to have a party either when the atmosphere, like if you have a weird atmosphere where you haven't dealt with actual problems and protected your people by making changes, communicating, or letting people go that are causing a gray cloud, and you have a party, your good people are like, this is great. One night, you know what I mean? Like they're like, this isn't what I want. Peace. Like I want when I come into work that this person doesn't make me feel bad, right?
So you don't want people doing the dirty dip real quick, the babysitter, I gotta go.
yeah, dude. I just I'm the king of Irish goodbyes. So I don't even do the babysitter. I just go, oh, it's so nice to see you.
I love it. All right. The pivot a little bit. This culture doesn't come from a to-do list. This culture comes from your internal system, your internal value system. I've known you for what? 3+ years, 4 years now, and I think I'm a pretty good judge of character, and you can tell when there's certain values that are homegrown.
Yep.
And you mentioned, Iowa and the Iowa values and stuff. Tell me about that, because and so the listeners who want to get to know you, because there's like, hey, there's a reason why they're selecting on this video. They want to get to know you more. I seen your post about your dad, who you're in a splitting image of. Um, Tell us a little bit about these homegrown values and how that impacts you and your perspective on life.
Whew. Yeah, I'll try. Uh, well, so it's like this. I was raised by my mom, my dad, Dan Gable, and wrestling. Like those, Dan Gable's like a legendary coach at the University of Iowa.
Okay.
And then wrestling, the sport, my dad was my coach ever since I was, a little kid. He was a wrestling coach. So he taught me everything. And then he was eventually my high school coach too. And my dad passed away now 2+ years ago. It's taken a long time to reflect, because you go through, the different stages of, what did that mean, and what did I learn, and what was it all supposed to be, and why did he go so early, and all this stuff, right? Where you're asking yourself what it was, and doing a lot of reflection. What I realized was that as he taught me everything, he never said, this is what I do. He never said, watch me. He would always teach me by pointing at somebody else and saying, look at how they do something, or look how good they are. And he never stopped to go, do you notice that I don't ever point at myself? But he would say things like, Tommy. He would say things like, he would tell me about how Caesar had a man to follow him around simply to say, just remember, you're only a man, right? Because Caesar was thought of like a god. And so he would have somebody follow around and say, you're only a man. He would say things like, speak softly and carry a big stick. He would say things like, your trumpet sounds much louder when someone else blows it. So he just taught me to work quietly and to produce loud results. And that the glamour and where you really got to take things away, like all the shit that people complain about are things that I look at like somebody can't take that away from me ever. Like going through a horrible wrestling practice, right? Like people look back and be like, oh my God, like that was the hardest thing I ever did, and I would never want to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can never take away from me that I've done those practices, and 99% of people haven't, and 90% of people wouldn't make it through the first 40 minutes. And I did that. And it's every tough thing that ever happens. And I'm kind of spiraling here a little bit in this story, but Dan Gable's, again, a legendary coach, one of the greatest, if not considered the greatest wrestlers of all time, starts his book off with how his sister, as a teenager, was raped and murdered in their home, and how he used that to become the best wrestler, the best coach, just an amazing competitor and an icon. And I was like, if you could somehow turn shit into fuel, what could you do in life? And so when good things happen, they're good. And I'm very grateful, and I thank God. And when bad things happen, I find the good, and I'm grateful, and I thank God. And the goods just don't happen without the bads. And that's I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, people shy away from the tough. People shy away from the bad because they look at it from a distance and they go, it's bad. And I look at all the bad as like gold mining. And this is going to be a weird analogy, but if you look at the way gold miners mine, for the most part, they're scooping a bunch of dirt, muck, mud up into a machine, and then the machine sorts out the good little tiny pieces and gets rid of all the shit. And so what I'm trying to do with my brain and my heart and my soul, and what my dad taught me to do, and my mom, and the sport of wrestling in the state of Iowa, and every amazing person that I've come across, is if you can just slow down a little bit and not react to it immediately. That happened, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? If you can just slow down and go, God's plan is perfect and his timing is perfect. Why? Right? And it's like somebody dies and it's like, how can there be good? There is no good. That's not true. It's not true. Did you remember to hug your daughter that night a little bit more? Did you call your mom? Did you get back to Iowa so you can spend more time with your family? Like, there are, you just got to find it. And it's not that they don't still hurt. They do, right? But it's like, how do I honor my dad who taught me everything? Is it by digressing? Is it by not being a good dad? Is it by going into depression, which, trust me, I tried hard to be like, this isn't going to get me. And it did. It got me good. But what I'm saying is the greatest honor that I could give to him or anybody that's influenced me is to act upon their influence, is to put that into motion and go, Tommy, you want to know what you said that I'm a smiley guy. And I'll tell you the truth. I don't think I smile that much at enough people. I smile every single person that comes up to me now because you said it. So thank you. You know, it's just picking, like, it's like you're walking along a path, you're trying to build a bouquet of life, and you're just picking out everything that you think looks pretty and just put it in there. Just put, and, you know, just grab it from every little interaction you get.
You know, you dropped some gems there. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, one long run-on sentence.
No, it's perfect. I actually want to talk about your dad a little bit more. I promise to those who want to talk about credit, I promise we'll get there and it will make more sense. You know, anyone who knows you knows that the way that you lead your family and your business, that you're an honor to your father. And I have a mentor who passed away whenever I was 19, who I live in his shadow, gloriously live in his shadow. I want to make him proud. It's one I don't have resentment towards. It's like, wow, I want to honor his memory. And so I understand where you're coming from, you know, where you want to live a life that honors that, not just the memories of it, but to make new memories, you know. And I love seeing online when you're taking your kids on the water, when you're going out and you're having fun with your family, and you're making wonderful memories. That's how you're truly making your father proud. It's not because you have an incredibly successful company. That's great, because, you know, I think you'd be successful in whatever you do. And I think that's what a true father wants. A true father wants their children to be successful in whatever they pursue and be a good person doing it. And what I really like, it, you know, when you're talking about the gold mining and digging through crap to find the gold and getting rid of the crap, we're going to use that to bridge to the credit part. And I think this is perfect, because one thing I love is you do not treat people as a credit score. And this is so important, that so many financial professionals, for some reason, they can't get their head out their ass. You know, they are so stiff and stuck up. I mean, I understand, because I come from blue collar family. My dad's a mechanic. I understand, coming from a blue collar family, why people hate finance people and people with suits. You know, I get it. I understand, because they're often looked down upon, they're judged, and we don't know what the circumstances are that something went sideways, that this 3-digit score directs so much of their life. And from seeing all of the videos that you put out and the training stuff that you give, you know, you brand for any loan officer who works with you, you do this personalized branding that we do. So it has all your cool trainings on it. At no point is the client ever meant to feel they are their credit score. Your identity is not tied to an algorithmic code.
Right.
Stuff happens. And so I look at that as kind of like you're digging in. It's okay, here's what the situation is. Here's what we need to do to fix it and move on with your life.
Yep.
And throw out the garbage. Let the past be in the past, fix stuff, move on. And I love that being a big part of the premise of this channel is to leverage to build wealth. It's like, okay, where are you now? What can we do to find the gold, get rid of the crap, and help you build a foundation that can truly be powerful? And the first couple episodes, a lot of it's been mindset, because mindset for me is so core and important. And as I was trying to decide in what order of financial topics do I want to have on how to leverage to build wealth, I haven't had a conversation on, hey, how to do mortgages yet, or anything like that, and why a mortgage matters. Why does renting, why is it different than purchasing, and what's the financial wealth building part of that? When it came to, hey, what's the first like educational type thing on financial literacy? Literally you, Sam, not just your company, but you are was the first thing that came to my mind very clearly, is because credit is such a foundational component to building wealth.
Well,
can you tell us from your observations, why it matters and what you've seen both from the negative and the positive of how you've helped people transition with that?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, trying to build wealth and working hard to make money with bad credit is like working really hard to fill a water bucket up and carry it back to your house with holes in the bottom of it. You're going to have to work way harder than if you just took the time to patch up some little holes, right? But people walk around with holes in their bucket constantly. There's two different mindsets, really. And I say this covers most people. Bad things happen to good people, and good people make bad mistakes. And that's how we end up with bad credit. The other thing is, and I don't like to preach victimhood very much, except for something so pivotal in our life. And the first time most people are taught about it is when it bites them in the ass, or when they need to go use it.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. I mean, I think that the bureaus, even the government, if they're going to allow the bureaus to operate, almost have an obligation to have a true credit class before you enter the working world. But people come in with two different mindsets, really. People come in with the workman type mentality of, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. This is not me. I understand that. And then you got people coming in that are like, and it's harder to work with the second type, who are trying to explain what happened, right? And it's like, I care. I have compassion for you and your situation now, and I want to help your family. But me having compassion for the reason you're telling me that this happened 2 or 3 years ago isn't going to get you anywhere either. Yeah. So what we have to do is, it's almost like we have to look at your past and your credit report as a problem that's just right in front of us. And you and me are coming in from separate sides of the table, and we're meeting and we're going, what do we do with this person? What do we do with this thing, right? It's not you, it's not attached to you. Just rationally though, what would you do? You wouldn't sit there and go, well, I don't think that it owes that because it broke up with the boyfriend and the boyfriend should have paid it. It's like, no. Here's the situation. This thing, the old boyfriend's not paying this. This is keeping the ex-girlfriend from moving on with her new future, her kids, and her new potential, person. What do we do? And it's not sit here and argue about it, right? It's just to deal with it. So my point in all this is, I can fix any credit report. I really can. And the reason I say that is because as long as I have the client working with me, it's only a matter of time. There's nothing on a credit report that cannot be resolved. I didn't say deleted. I didn't say removed. I'm not that credit guy that says I'll get everything removed, but I will help you get resolution on things. I will help you build credit. And I will help you, by the time somebody's done with their credit, there might be something negative still on it, but we know 1,000% it's yours. It's reporting correctly. It's not going anywhere until the time statute, and that your credit is maximized everywhere else, right? So it's just, if you go about credit thinking of it as something that happened to you, especially something bad that happened to you, that attitude's not right. Your credit is yours. It is a tool that you get to use. You just have to shape it up a little bit. But just like going into like a battle, like an old school knight, your income is your sword, your credit is your shield. At no point would you just throw your shield down and go, you know what, I'd rather just use a sword because Dave Ramsey told me to. Like, pick up your shield, shine it up, and take it into battle with you, because it's gonna save you a lot of pain and suffering.
Yes. You know, at the heart of what you just said has a principle that applies to any kind of conflict, and I think it's really, really good. And I have to think that it has to come from your dad, you know, because my understanding of wrestlers, and I've had quite a bit of buddies who are wrestlers, straight shooters. They're all straight shooters, or they're not good. You know, the ones who complain. You know, the ones who are good don't offer.
Or they
excuses.
should have played basketball.
Yeah. They don't offer excuses. They offer solutions. Here's the problem. What do we need to do to fix it? You know, bitching about it isn't going to make it go away. Sorry for the language, but let's get real. It's not sticking your head in the sand isn't going to make it go away. It's not going to fix it. So I like for the aspect, you know, like where you're talking about, hey, take responsibility of the aspect of I need to work on it. You know, we need to figure out what we need to do to either correct errors, but also to build good new habits. You know, I liked how you talked about that. It's like, hey, we're not just going to dispute everything and do all the other stuff that other people talk about, or, you know, those signs on the exit ramp in Arizona, you'd see those often, you know, or like, hey, you know, for $100, I'll make your credit 800. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But it's no, what do we need to do to build that foundation of why that matters? Now, you mentioned a great analogy of the buckets with holes. You've been in the industry for quite some time, and you have seen directly firsthand the positive impacts of what that repair does. Like, from your experience in how it helps people, what are some of the things that, from feedback you've got from your clients or just from other loan officers who you're helping, of its impact of not just patching the holes, but what happens when they bring that to accomplish their goals? What have you noticed?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the client side. Number one, I mean, you're truly changing a life. You took somebody from an underdog or what they considered themselves to be a loser who couldn't qualify. And I'm not saying that to call them that. I'm saying that is how you feel when you are trying to qualify for a home loan for your family because it's growing and you need more room. And someone tells you, no, you can't. And I don't know, right? I don't really have a solution for you other than I just deal with people that are 660 or above. That person feels 1 inch tall, right? So fixing the credit does a couple things. Number one, qualifying for the home loan. The benefits of home ownership are endless, both in terms of individuals and the family, especially kids. The impact that home ownership has, those kids get better grades. The family life is better. Divorce rates are lower. Generational wealth starts to kick in because you can build equity. All the different benefits of home ownership that are so true. The one thing that I love, though, above all else, is that you start creating templates for clients, because usually if you're down and out on your credit, a lot of times in life you kind of do one thing like you do everything, or you're in a similar situation across the board as you are in one. What credit and allowing us and having a coach hold you accountable and knocking these things out, and then having the big reward of usually qualifying for a home loan or refinancing an auto or doing something tangible with it, is it shows you, hold on. So if I did that with my credit and I apply the same principles to my health, what would happen? Quit making excuses. I take accountability. I do the small things that seem obvious, but they're obvious for a reason because they work. And I do them every day or every week instead of just once in a while. Oh my God, that concept kind of works in health too. What about with my wife? What if I just did the right things and not the wrong things, both the right things? So don't add collections and make on-time payments. So don't get in arguments and buy her flowers, right? Like, these templates apply everywhere in life. And that's part of the reason I love credit, is it facilitates a comeback story, and then it creates a path, like a neurological path where someone goes, well, if I did that with this, I bet I could do it with something else. And then it's like, yeah, yep, you could. And all of a sudden they start applying those habits that they learned through credit improvement to other things. And all of a sudden we get weird compliment. Like, we have people call us every week crying. Like, you could monitor our phone lines, and I could give my people a button where it says crier, and you would have people crying and calling up a mix of, I qualified for a home loan, to you saved my marriage, to I never thought that this was going to be possible. My family has never owned a home before. I mean, all the different, it's you'd have to be silly to think that it's just one and done. When someone has never owned a home in their family tree, and then they do, who's going to stop them now? Right? Like, I mean, you got all the momentum in the world. Like, you can do anything. You were the first person in hundreds of years to be a homeowner. Who's going to stop you? What can you do now?
You know, to that point, there is this one client. I worked at a company before I was a mortgage broker. Whenever I was a mortgage banker for a large company that didn't have credit repair. You know, your client, you pull the credit report, you either can help them or you can't. And I remember trying to tell them why their credit mattered, you know, because I wanted them to come back to me. And so I wanted them, hey, give you some kind of tips. And my leadership was like, hey, they don't qualify, get off the phone because you're just wasting time. I'm like, they will come back to me if I give them some solid advice. I honestly feel they will.
Yeah.
And my boss was on my butt, you know, just like, you got 2 minutes. And then he got distracted. He went to a meeting. So I knew I'd be able to take some more time because this person needed the help. They were wanting to do a cash out refinance on their house. They had a lot of equity, but they were drowning in debt. They had some big financial goals. And the initial response is, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if you got time, I'll give you some tips. Right. And so I told them what to do. And about 4 or 5 months later, they call me back because I give them my email. I'm like, hey, please call me whenever you are ready. And they said, hey, we followed your advice. We think our credit's where it needs to be. Can you pull it? Pull it. I mean, it's like 10 points above the radar, you know, of what we needed to do to make it work. I'm like, all right, fantastic. We can do this. And what was really good about that is it wasn't because it was a check on a board for a new client. It wasn't just, oh, it's a commission. Don't get me wrong. I work to take care of my family, but it was so much more. This client, I'll never forget. It provided $4,000 more in cash flow in that family's life, where they were paycheck to paycheck. They were taking credit cards to pay credit cards, to rob Peter to pay Paul. And it was just growing beyond belief. Yeah. But they're able to have, for their circumstance, it was like $4,000 more a month. And for what that meant for the husband is like, you know, I've been wanting to start a business and I only needed $1,000 a month to bill for what he wanted to do and it's his goals that matter. And then I'm like, we can give you that savings times 4. And so for him, it meant, hey, I can start my business of what I wanted to do, what I've been held back to. I don't feel like I got a gun to my head. And I can take care of my family. And and that was tied to a credit score. You know, this guy's sense of drive and ambition and freedom that he felt.
Yep.
You know, he felt imprisoned by that aspect. And it was just getting worse, you know, because of the circumstance, but because someone took the time to take care of him. And that's what I love as a broker, to be able to know, you know what, I don't have to just give them the advice on that. I know that if I have a client who's got some real, you know, complicated situations, that Sam, you and your people know how to unwind those. You guys know how to get people on track. And for someone in the finance industry to be able to know that you can rely on someone to be able to get them taken care of. Now, what's really nice is there's so many financial services careers that are not just mortgages, that are credit based, that they need to be able to have someone have credit better so they can give them better terms for their services. And so, you know, without reservation, it's so cool to be able to recommend just like, hey, you know, it doesn't just have to be with mortgages. It's like, no, they need their credit squared away. This is what he's excellent at. is not because Sam's a mortgage officer. No, he's a credit guy. He is my credit guy. And that's what I love about the name of your business. Like, no, it's my credit guy. It's like he can get you taken care of to where we can ultimately help everybody. And I think from anyone watching this, they'll be able to tell, hey, this is the kind of person you want to work with. It's a kind of it's a company culture where you know that taking care of your people matter, working matters, and that everything will work out as long as the client is proactive, as far as following the advice that you're giving them and so forth. With that, I want to give you the final word, whatever you want to say, and also how people can reach you directly, reach your company so they can take care of themselves or their clients. Take the wheel.
Yeah. Well, they can go to mycreditguy.com, and whether you're a client or want to be a partner with us, you can just select, I'm trying to get my credit fixed, or I'm trying to help my clients, and we'll take you from there. We usually start with, for clients, we start with a free review of their credit. We'll pull up their credit report, tell them what needs to be done. They can choose whether to hire us at that point or to handle things on their own with our assistance on education and advice. So there's no obligation to it. And with lender or realtor partners or insurance partners, there's no cost. It doesn't cost you anything. We set you up, we save your deals, we communicate all along the way. Tommy, you said, as long as the client does what they're supposed to do, that's kind of the classic catch-all for credit repair companies is they're like, oh, well, if they just would have said, well, that's where your communication has to be better. And that's where we really excel away from our competition is our communications next level. Each one of the clients gets assigned to a dedicated credit coach. That dedicated credit coach keeps you updated every step of the way until it's time to repull credit. So, we can step in and improve someone's credit or improve a loan officer's system within a day. We can make it so that you can send files over with a click of a button through your CRM, or you can always email parkerteam@mycreditguy.com and either make an introduction or just say, hey, look at this file. What do you think? And then we give you a tracking portal that you're going to be able to keep track of everything. So mycreditguy.com, parkerteam@mycreditguy.com. One of those ways you're going to get a hold of me.
Sam, thank you. You're such a good friend.
Absolutely.
You really are. And I appreciate you coming in on this for me because you're a good man, and I value the people I surround myself with, and you're a shining star in my universe. And so I appreciate you, brother. And till next episode.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you for watching and listening in to today's episode. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can strengthen our mission